lumber you get to the lumber yard. And then, of course, that shiplap product, it is kiln dried. But nothing is pre-treated or chemically, no chemical is used on it whatsoever. And then we just recommend to our clients a Sickens product for the final preservative and stain. And that's for the ponderosa pine, and I'll let Jack answer for that.
Sure. Texas Timber Frames uses a number of different species of timbers. For exteriors, we like to use local wood because we've got great cypress here, we've got great red cedar. Those products are bug resistant, moisture resistant, rot resistant. They're great for outside. For the interiors, it's a little more difficult to find local woods that are strong enough and straight enough that won't twist on you and cause some problems over the long term. So we use a lot of Douglas fir out of the Northwest, all responsibly harvested. We use a lot of oak from Ohio and Pennsylvania. We get those from the Amish. And the Amish actually go in with a horse and buggy and chop it down and pull it out with a horse. So I don't think that you can get any greener than that. We're kind of proud of that. But as far as you know, using any kind of treated lumber or anything like that, most of what we get is green. And if anything's done to it, we have it kiln dried, or what's called RFKD, which is basically a microwave process which dries the timber all the way through. Which is a great process if you're looking for something that will not check, will not twist ever. So those are the kind of things we use. We do have an FSC program. We haven't had anybody request FSC timbers. We always offer. Nobody seems to be willing to pay the premium up to this point, but I've only been there since November, and that's when we instituted it. So I imagine in the future, as people are looking for more you know, zero impact type of homes, zero net energy, we're going to be going more in that direction. So we look forward to that.
I saw some heads turning. I think letters are kind of throwing some people off. What I'm referring to when I ask about FSC lumber, FSC stands for Forest Stewardship Council. And it is a series of steps, what they call a chain of custody, by a third party, which is FSC, which I think comes out of Europe. There's an American version, or Canadian version, and European version, where they make sure that in a particular forestry production boundary, that they cannot remove more board feet out of that area than can be shown to grown during the same amount of time. So it makes it truly a sustainable forest. It's not anything like clear cutting, you know, so they don't tear that all up and then they just move to the next and tear that all up. So FSC says, you know, okay, if you keep this practice here, you've still got a forest. You know, so that's what FSC wood is. And because it is a very strict chain of custody, there's a lot of paperwork and a lot of staples and a lot of things that go with this piece of wood all the way down. You can imagine it is kind of pricey, and he's right. You know, it's something that if you're concerned about this, and a lot of people are, that there's a premium for that. Other than that, there's other non-FSC wood, and there's other things that we just have to kind of either take their word for it or something else. Also, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that in most timber frame homes, the total amount of wood is actually less than on a stick frame house.
That's actually true. The total amount of board footage is less than in a stick frame home. Using many 2x4s creates more wood than using a few 8x8s, essentially.
Talking to the president of Sand Creek, he was talking about where he got his wood. You said it was from Black Hills, but he said he went into more detail about it being, I think he said, no clear cuts. It's all
right.
Something things I didn't quite understand, but he was proud of it. Like individual tag, the trees are individually tagged and taken out individually, so they're maybe standing dead already.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's true.
So could you tell us some more?
That's about all I know about it too. No, but I know that it is dry cut. Only trees that are in the process of dying or dry are cut, and it seems like, well, and that's really about all I know about it.
The thing that you need when you're looking for large timbers, you have to find the right tree. So you can't just cut everything down and harvest whatever you've got. You actually have to go and find the tree. And so every timber that is used in a timber frame structure or a Sand Creek barn is someone's gone out there and said, okay, this is straight enough that we can get a 20-foot post, and we're going to be able to get 4 out of them, so it's going to be worth taking it down. Okay, we'll put an X on this tree. They go to the next tree, it's not tall enough, or it's a little bit crooked, or a number of different things. It's rotted out and apart. It's not something that is taken down. So essentially every tree that is taken down for a timber frame structure or a post and beam structure must be hand selected. So nobody's going in and just cutting them all down.
And that's true. Everything, the CAD drawings determine our cut list, and then the cut list determines our order to the mill. And so there is every cut is kind of pre-planned, pre-selected. One thing too that we could tell them about is Lynn and Joel's program. 10 trees are planted for every barn order. And we look at the National Farm Day information on that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Another difference between the two companies, they're your common ownership, but the Sand Creek approach uses, and you mentioned metal, you're using
Steel plates.
steel plates instead of some of the mortise and tendons. Do you have any mortise and tendons in your? It's all connected by steel plates.
Our post and beam structures are, yeah.
And you have,
Steel plate.
even though they're customizable, you all Texas Timber Frame is a full custom builder, where you're a customizable kit provider, right?
That's right.
And Sand Creek or Texas Timber Frames does offer a few standard plants, and they're designed specifically for efficiency and cost effectiveness. But really, when people are coming to us for a home, generally they're custom home builders, and they may go off what we have and change it a little bit.
Well, I had a question about the quality of modern timber as opposed to what it had been in the past. One of the complaints has been that in the silver culture, they're giving them certain growth hormones, and they're getting very rapid growth, much less density. How do you handle that discrepancy there?
That's a really good point, and we really try hard to get the best timbers. And the reason
Well,
why
there's some places, for instance, that are not doing that. Some tree farms that will take the slower growth because the profit margin drops out, and I assume that the price increases.
Right.
But this study in the lumber yard, the so-like weight in the mold is already in the timber. You can see it there, that gray stuff.
Yeah, especially in the southern yellow frame and things. Yeah. It's something that we fight all the time because we have to find a balance between cutting down old-growth forests and having a timber that is going to be effective and strong. So we shoot for the middle. We work with a company in the Northwest, Destero Lumber, and they understand what we need, and they essentially make sure that happens. A lot of what we need is more than just the ring sizes, is that when we get Douglas fir, which is our main building product, we want to get it without the center of the tree. We want to get a corner of the tree. It's called free of heart center. And that way when it dries, it doesn't pull apart on the outside as the outside dries faster than the center. So that's what we need more than actual real thin
Density.
right, the density of the growth lines.
So these are huge trees that you have to start with.
Doug firs are
What
incredibly
are we talking diameters to get 4 beams up?
10 feet easy. They're
10-foot
huge.
diameter?
Yeah, they're huge trees.
The Douglas fir.
Yeah, the Douglas fir, the pine is not nearly that big.
How can that be sustainable? Because that's got to be a 200-year-old tree.
It's a fast growing tree. I mean, you're right that it's not sustainable to cut down the really big ones, and they generally don't. But the ones that are 8 feet in diameter, that kind of thing, it's a tree that's a great building product.
Now, is the sizing of the timber frame and the individual things pretty much historical, or are they actually doing more engineering on appropriate sizing of the beams and posts and that sort of stuff? I come from a structural engineering background, so, for efficiency and actual optimum use, most timber frames that I see are just historical sizes.
Mm-hmm. There was a project done by the Timber Frame Business Council and the Timber Frame Guild. They're two separate groups, but they work on behalf of the timber frame industry. They went to the University of Wyoming, and the University of Wyoming did a multiple year study on what exactly the specifications for structural engineering on timber frames need to be. What dimension for what species? You know, how high can you go? How wide a span can you go in between the bent structures? And this was all done, and they're just coming out with that information now. There are many structural engineers that specialize in timber frames. We in Sand Creek use someone in T, South Dakota, who basically they're licensed throughout the country, and what their specialty is